Get Smart ran for 138 episodes across 5 seasons. A show built on the joke that the most dangerous spy in Washington could not find his own shoe phone. But behind that laugh track, the people who made it were living stories no writer's room could have invented, secrets kept for decades, careers that collapsed the moment the cameras stopped, and one death that the world was told was something else entirely. 60 years later, only 2 of them are still here. Blackwater Fever survivors and Broadway stars, a clown no one recognized, a mother with no name, and the man who wrote Maxwell Smart's most famous line, "This is what Get Smart never told you." If you grew up in the 1960s, you knew that voice. The trench coat, the shoe phone, the man who could mess up every mission and still somehow save the world. Don Adams played Maxwell Smart for 5 seasons. He won 3 consecutive Emmy Awards, 1967, 68, 69, and turned a bumbling spy into one of the most beloved characters in American television history. What the audience never saw was who he was before the laughs. At 18, he lied about his age to enlist in the United States Marine Corps. He fought at Guadalcanal. Every man in his platoon was killed. Don Adams was the only one who walked away. Not because he was the strongest, but because Blackwater Fever took him off the battlefield before the fighting ended. He spent over a year in a military hospital in New Zealand, a 90% chance of dying, recovering from a disease most men did not survive. He came home. He became a comedian. He took the name of the woman he married. And then, for 5 seasons, he played a man who faced danger every week and never once seemed afraid. In 2004, his daughter Cecily, a non-smoker her entire life, died of lung cancer at 46. Don Adams had bone lymphoma. After she went, he stopped his treatments. He told friends he did not want a mournful funeral. He wanted them to bring him back to life. That line was from season 2. He died on September 25th, 2005. He was 82. He is buried at Hollywood Forever Cemetery, not Arlington, where he had asked to be laid to rest as a Marine. The man who made America laugh at its own paranoia had already survived the thing most men did not. He just never talked about it. Smart, capable, never fooled. For 5 seasons, Agent 99 was everything Maxwell Smart was not. Barbara Feldon was 32 when Get Smart premiered. She had already won $64,000 on a game show, answering questions about Shakespeare, and turned down the role of Agent 99 once before Buck Henry personally talked her back in. The network saw a sophisticated spy. What they did not know was what was happening in her apartment off Park Avenue. Her husband, Lucien Felden Verdot, had told her he was in advertising, then a pilot, then something close to a spy. He was none of those things. She had met him outside Carnegie Hall when he asked to borrow a dime. Within a year, they were married. By the time she was playing the most competent woman on American television, she had already realized her husband was not who he said he was. The $64,000 she had won, the money she had studied Shakespeare for, the money that was supposed to build a life, was gone, gambling. She called him a sociopath. She kept his last name anyway, not as a memory, as a reminder. They divorced in 1967. She never married again. She wrote a book called Living Alone and Loving It. Then, 40 years later, she wrote the full story of Lucien in a memoir. Because a friend told her she had to. She is 93 years old. She still lives in New York. And Agent 99's real name was never revealed in 138 episodes. Neither was hers. The German accent that made Siegfried one of television's most memorable villains came from an Austrian psychiatrist. Every week, the actor who played him sat in that man's office and walked out with a voice. Bernie Kopell was 33 when Get Smart cast him as the Chaos Chief. Before that, he drove a taxi in Los Angeles and served as a librarian on a battleship. When Get Smart ended in 1970, most of his castmates struggled. Kopell walked straight into the Love Boat. 9 seasons, 250 episodes, 98 countries. His second career was bigger than his first. He married for the third time in 1997 at 64. His son, Adam, was born the following year, named after his Love Boat character. He is 92 years old. He is one of two people from this entire cast still alive. Not everyone found that kind of second act. The woman who played the most capable spy on television was fighting her own war off camera, one the audience never saw coming. For 16 years, millions of American children screamed his name at the television. They just did not know it was his name. King Moody played Starker, Siegfried's loyal, hopelessly dim henchman, on Get Smart from 1967 to 69. He got the role because his friend Bernie Coppell put in a word after Moody failed an audition for Jaime the Robot. One door closed, another opened, and it had golden arches. In 1969, Moody became Ronald McDonald. He played the clown for 16 consecutive years, the longest run of any actor in the role. Every commercial, every campaign. His face was painted white. His hair was red. The character was everywhere. King Moody was nowhere. He married twice. Both marriages ended. He died on February 7th, 2001 in Tarzana, California. He was 71. No cause was ever officially reported. He spent his career making people laugh from behind two different masks. Almost no one ever saw the man underneath either one. Of all the people in this cast, one of them outlived everyone else by decades. And it was not the star. Dave Ketchum started at UCLA studying electrical engineering. He switched tracks after joining a USO group entertaining soldiers overseas. Curious, he said, about what makes people laugh. That question carried him all the way to Get Smart, where he played Agent 13, the operative who always ended up crammed into a vending machine, a mailbox, a washing machine. Ketchum was 6'2". Every scene was a genuine ordeal. What most people never knew was that he had a second career running alongside the acting, writing scripts for nearly 50 television shows. MASH, Happy Days, MacGyver, Wonder Woman, Full House. He was nominated for a Writers Guild of America award. The man inside the washing machine was also the man writing the room. He died on August 10th, 2025. He was 97 years old, the last surviving member of this cast to go. But two people from this cast died within the same general window of their lives. Same age range, same cause, and neither of them saw it coming. Broadway star, Tony nomination, the original Conrad Birdie, the Elvis-based rock and roller in Bye Bye Birdie, 1960. Then Jaime the Robot. Then decades of voiceover work, game shows, illustration books. Dick Gautier built a career out of playing things he was not. A swaggering teen idol. A machine without feelings. A Robin Hood who could not quite get anything right. He was, by most accounts, one of the warmest people in any room he entered. What almost no one connected to his name was his son. Rand Gautier, in 1995, stole a videotape from the home of Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson and released it on the internet. It became one of the first celebrity sex tapes to circulate widely, a moment that helped define what the internet would become. The father who played a robot with no human instincts had a son at the center of one of the most human scandals of the decade. Gautier died on January 13th, 2017, from pneumonia at an assisted living facility in Arcadia, California. He was 85. His daughter told the press, his son's name did not appear in most of the obituaries. Some legacies arrive in the form you planned. Others arrive on their own terms entirely. The most famous line in Get Smart was not written by Mel Brooks. It was not written by Buck Henry. It was written by a man named William Sathmary from Quincy, Massachusetts, who changed his name because no one in show business could pronounce it. Bill Dana wrote the "Would You Believe" jokes for Don Adams years before Get Smart existed. When Adams became a star, Dana became a star too. As Jose Jimenez, a heavily accented Latin immigrant character who appeared on The Ed Sullivan Show, sold millions of comedy albums, and even became the unofficial mascot of NASA's Mercury program. After Alan Shepard lifted off in 1961, the first words from Mission Control were, "Okay, Jose, you're on your way." Then, Dana walked away from all of it. In 1970, he retired Jose Jimenez, not because the ratings fell, but because people began telling him they loved watching The Dumb Mexican. He read a formal obituary for the character at a Latino civil rights meeting in Los Angeles. He gave up the most profitable thing he had ever created because he decided it was doing harm. His brother Irving composed the Get Smart theme music. Dana himself appeared in the show and co-wrote the nude bomb. He died on June 15th, 2017. He was 92. The man who gave Maxwell Smart his voice spent the rest of his own life figuring out what his voice was actually for. If you watched the Patty Duke Show in the 1960s, you knew Martin Lane, the patient, unflappable TV dad who somehow kept up with two identical teenage girls and never lost his composure. William Schallert played Martin Lane for 3 seasons. He had nearly 400 credits across 60 years of work. Westerns, sci-fi, courtroom dramas, a small role in Singin' in the Rain, a mayor in the Heat of the Night. He served as president of the Screen Actors Guild from 1979 to 81, led a 94-day strike, and founded the Guild's first committee for performers with disabilities. Of everything he did, the role he said he loved most was Admiral Hargrade on Get Smart, a senile, ancient founder of CONTROL who kept falling over. 4 appearances. He said he modeled the character after his grandmother when she got dotty. He did not bother reading the scripts. His wife, Leah, the woman he had married in 1949, died in 2015. They had been together 66 years. 6 weeks after Patty Duke died in March of 2016, Schallert followed. He was 93. Some people hold on long enough to say goodbye to everyone they love. He was almost one of them. In the summer of 1989, some of Hollywood's closest friends received an envelope in the mail. On the front was a photograph of a man with a lampshade on his head, grinning. When they opened it, they had to read it 2 or 3 times before they understood what they were holding. It was a funeral invitation. Victor French had kept his diagnosis completely secret. Lung cancer, advanced stage, discovered in March of that year while he was filming in Dublin. He told almost no one. Instead, he spent his final weeks planning the service himself. The food, the band, the guest list, and one standing rule. No one was allowed to cry. Anyone who did would be removed. Michael Landon stood at that funeral next to a former castmate, gripping her hand. She later wrote that she had never seen a man fight tears so hard in her life. French had spent 20 years playing killers and criminals before Landon cast him as Isaiah Edwards on Little House on the Prairie. The role that changed everything. They made 2 shows together. They were, by every account, crazy about each other. French died on June 15th, 1989. He was 54. 2 years later, Landon was gone too. Also 54. Also cancer. He planned a party for his own funeral, because that was the only kind of goodbye he knew how to give. In Season 5, Maxwell Smart turns to the chief and says, "People ask if Larrabee and I are related." The audience laughed. What they did not know was that the answer, off camera, was yes. Robert Carvelis was Don Adams's first cousin. Their mothers were sisters. He grew up in Charleroi, Pennsylvania, served in the Marines during World War II as a Golden Gloves boxing champion, then spent years working as a stockbroker. He had no acting training, no ambition for the stage. Adams simply wanted family nearby. So he gave Carvelis small, uncredited roles on Get Smart, one at a time, until the character of Larrabee took shape around him. Larrabee ended up appearing in all 5 seasons. Fans loved him precisely because Carvelis never seemed to be performing. He was just there, steady, unhurried, genuinely funny without trying. When Get Smart ended, he followed Adams to the next show. When that was canceled, he stepped back from Hollywood quietly. He reprised Larrabee one last time in 1989. He died on December 5th, 1991. He was 70 years old. He is buried at Riverside National Cemetery, a soldier's burial for a man who became an actor entirely by accident. Calm, authoritative, always in control. For 5 seasons, the Chief was the one person in CONTROL who actually had everything together. Edward Platt brought that character to life with a bass baritone voice trained at Juilliard, a career spanning Broadway, Hollywood films, and 2 decades of dramatic television. He appeared in Rebel Without a Cause. He appeared in North by Northwest. Before Get Smart, he had spent 20 years playing men who never lost their footing. His character on the show had no real name, not in 138 episodes. The Chief was simply the Chief. When the series ended in 1970, the roles stopped coming. He produced an independent film in 1973 that lost everything. His marriage ended. He was dealing with depression that had gone undiagnosed and untreated for years. On March 19, 1974, he was found in his apartment in Santa Monica. He was 58 years old. The official report said heart attack. His family said nothing else, not for a long time. Years later, his son told the truth. 2 secrets ran side by side through his entire story: the name of the character he played, and the weight of what he was carrying alone. Neither one was ever supposed to come out. If you remember Agent 99's mother, the sharp-tongued woman who showed up when Max and 99 got married, you remember the character. Almost no one remembers the woman who played her. Her name was Jane Dulo. Except that was not her real name either. She was born Bernice Dulo in Baltimore in 1917, the daughter of Latvian and Lithuanian Jewish immigrants. She started performing in vaudeville at 10 years old. An agent later told her to go by Jane Dillon for the nightclub circuit. Eventually, she settled on Jane Dulo, a stage name built from her family name, reshaped for an industry that preferred its performers easy to pronounce and hard to place. She worked for 65 years, over 100 television appearances, Sergeant Bilko, McHale's Navy, The Dick Van Dyke Show, The Golden Girls. She played housewives, spinsters, nurses, and meddling mothers, the woman in the background of every room, essential to the scene, invisible after it ended. She died on May 22nd, 1994, from complications during heart surgery. She was 76. Agent 99 never had a name. Neither did 99's mother. The woman who played her had 3, and Hollywood only ever needed one of them. That laugh track played over every secret, every marriage that fell apart, every role that never came after, every person who smiled for the camera and said nothing about what was happening off it. Get Smart was a show about people pretending to be something they were not. Spies who were not really spies. Villains who were not really dangerous. A chief who never had a real name. It turned out the cast was doing the same thing, just in the other direction. The shoe phone is a punchline now. The people who carried it were something else entirely. Which character from this cast do you still think about? And why? Thank you for watching Golden Star Moments. If you enjoy meaningful moments, inspiring stories, and unforgettable highlights, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our latest videos. Every subscription motivates us to continue creating and sharing even more quality content with you. We look forward to seeing you in our next amazing journey. Golden Star Moments, where every shining moment becomes a lasting memory.